Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited to have with us today Erin Bosch. She is the president and CEO of Mozi-Q and Mozi-Q.com. Welcome to Green is Good, Erin.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hey, Erin, before we get talking about your great company and what you're doing there and all the important work, I want you to share the Erin Bosch story. We've got so many young people from around the world that listen to Green is Good. And, you know, our guests are the inspirational leaders of today, and there's a lot of young people that want to follow in your footsteps. So can you share your journey leading up to being the president and CEO of Mozi-Q?
Absolutely. I'm kind of a chronic entrepreneur. I actually tried to open up my first business when I was 15 years old. It was a coffee shop. It didn't quite work out that way, but later on, when I was 20 years old, I got the idea to open up a health food store because all throughout high school, I'd worked in health food stores. So I went to my mom and Mom, I want to open up a health food store. And she said, write a business plan. And so I went and I wrote a business plan. And 3 months later, I had opened up a little health food store in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Wow. At that point, I had gotten myself to day one. And I remember sitting in my office and I had used a label maker. It was our biggest expense of the entire build. And I typed out, "It is real." And that saying sat on my computer actually for years afterwards. And so I started working in my little health food store, and we gained quite a little following. And then at year 5, I actually decided to change the concept of my business. I turned it into part of my store was still a little store, but then the other part of it was a clinic. And the reason I did that was because I love natural medicine and I love green medicine, but I really believed that we had to have professionals talking about the medicine. And so I did a renovation. I did it all myself because I'm a good entrepreneur. And then we reopened as a clinic. And at that point, we started to get a great following because we had so many professionals working for us. And then fast forward another year, we were researching because, once again, I'm obsessed with natural medicine, and came across a reference to a remedy in an old textbook that if you took it, mosquitoes wouldn't bite you. I didn't actually think a lot about it because I'm not a particularly yummy person. Bugs don't bite me. But I started selling it in the clinic, and every year I had this 100% increase in sales. And one day we'd sold a lot of it, and I was talking to my assistant. I'm like, okay, when I die, I want this on my tombstone because it's like it's a real product. And then she gave me a funny look, and the light bulb went off, and I started working to bring this product to market. It took me actually a year and a half to get approval in Canada. Canada actually has very, very strict guidelines for natural medicine. And then finally, when I got my approval, I brought it to market, and I've been chasing after Mozi-Q ever since. And this year marks the year that we're actually launching into the U.S. So I'm really excited about it because Mozi-Q is the first ever oral insect repellent. It's completely safe. There's no contraindications. It's all natural. And I really believe that this is a remedy that could help change the world.
This is so cool. So wait a second now. I want to step back. I mean, there's so many questions that come out of that, and that's such a fascinating journey. So you're still in Canada, I take it, Erin?
Yep.
And you still have the health food, or like the health center, or what's it like? What's your retail store look like or center look like?
Oh, it's still there, and I have somebody who's running it for me.
Okay.
I've kind of branched off a bit because, it sounds weird, but I actually thought launching a product would be a hobby. And lo and behold, a few years later, it's not a hobby. And so we just expanded into this brand new space in a gorgeous part of our city. And I've got an office with a bunch of people working for me, and I'm just having a good time with it now. But still, people can go to your health food store, homeopathic center that runs as a retail center, and this is now going to be your wholesale enterprise selling Mozi-Q to the world. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as far as sales of Mozi-Q, I launched it 2 seasons ago. So we're entering into our 3rd season here in Canada, and we're now in about 2,500 stores across Canada. We've got a huge following. I was recently featured on Dragon's Den, which is Canada's equivalent of Shark Tank.
No.
Yeah. And guess what? Kevin loved me.
Wait a second. Kevin's on both shows?
He's on both shows. Kevin's Canadian.
Oh, so he's on both shows. Which show started first?
I think it was Dragon's Den. Dragon's been around for 8 years now.
No kidding. So wait a second. Did you get the funding you wanted, or or did you not?
I ended up having Florida the Five Dragons fight over me, which was kind of interesting.
That's fun.
And
good for you.
I didn't end up going with Kevin, but I went with two other dragons for a deal. Eventually, it actually fell through just because my sales exploded, and I didn't need the funding anymore. So
good for you. And I'm sure that was great publicity for you.
It was a fascinating night. It took down our website 5 times, and we trended on Twitter. And I didn't know I ever wanted to trend on Twitter until I trended on Twitter.
Good for you. That's awesome. All right, so wait a second now. Let's step back. So now, let's go back and talk a little bit about the interrelationship and really your part of your journey, homeopathy and green. Explain why that was so important to you and why that should be important to our listeners out there across not only Canada and the United States, but across the world.
Okay, well, I mean, Hippocrates said, let your food be your medicine.
Right.
And one of the things that's always really concerned me is that in our society, we have this preconceived notion that our medicine is poison.
Right.
And to me, that's not right. Our medicine should not be poison, right? I mean,
Right.
We shouldn't be scared of overdosing on something that's supposed to actually heal us. And so in my days back in the health food store, I knew that there had to be an alternative. It just didn't make sense to me that there wasn't an alternative for a poisonous medicine until we came across homeopathy. Now, in my first days of that health food store, I couldn't really afford to hire anybody. And so my mom was working for me. Oh. And when she started working for me, she also started going to school for homeopathic medicine. And that's when we just fell in love with the medicine, and we realized it can do so much. I mean, in our clinic, we have such fantastic results, especially with children. And kind of my goal is to bring a safe and effective and natural and green medicine to the world so that people no longer have this idea that medicine is poison.
That is so great. And for our listeners out there that want to follow along, first of all, Erin's website is just beautiful. I'm on it right now. If you want to pull it up on your iPad or your laptop or whatever you're on, your cell phone, it's www.mozi-q.com. Mozi-Q.com. It's with a dash in there, though. mozi-q.com. So wait a second now. So you sell at the store all sorts of homeopathic, medicines, but now your new business, your add-on business is this natural repellent for bugs.
Yeah, well, I wanted to find a way to bring natural medicine to the world.
Right.
I'm only one person. I can't talk to the entire world in my little clinic.
Sure.
But when Mozi-Q, this idea came to me, I realized this was a safe, natural medicine that had mass appeal. People want to take a pill and not get bitten, people and bugs. I mean, bugs are a chronic problem all across the world.
Yeah.
And so the reason I launched Mozi-Q was to introduce people to a different alternative for something that is potentially dangerous for us.
Well, now, wait a second. Now, this is fascinating. So, in Canada, you've been selling this now for 2 years?
Yes.
And your sales are... talk a little bit about your sales. How many, by packages, or by how many sales the first month, how many sales last month, or how many sales the first year, how many sales last... how's it going, and what do you expect to happen with it in the United States when it starts taking off?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm up in Canada, and despite what people think, we don't have snow all year round.
Right.
But at the same time, it's very hard to sell a mosquito product in the dead of winter in Canada. So we have a very short season here. In my first season on the market, I got into about 250 stores, and that was just me putting pedal to the metal and going in and talking to individual retailers and getting it out there. And then the second season that we launched, which was last year, we got into 900 stores because the word spread at how awesome this product was. And then this year going in, we're in about 2,500 stores across Canada. So
Wow.
I'm really expecting, the U.S., we've always had requests from the U.S. to come into the market. We've always had a presence on our website. We're available on Amazon.com. But I really am expecting to see a huge influx also because you've got areas of the country that mosquitoes, first of all, there's insect-borne illness, but also mosquitoes are prevalent all year round.
But you're going to save, wait, like, let's be honest here, Erin. You're going to save people's lives and also save people from all these insect-borne illnesses. So I'm on your website. Again, for our listeners out there, this is really important stuff. www.mozi-q.com. It says it works within 30 minutes of taking it. I want you to walk us through this. There are no side effects. It works on other bugs aside from mosquitoes like ticks and head lice. I also, I'm reading here, is it also bed bugs too?
Basically any bud-biting insect. So sandflies, nasturtiums, chiggers. It does work on scabies, but we tend not to talk about that because it makes people itchy. And
it's non-toxic.
Non-toxic. And it's safe for babies, and it's also safe for pets.
So wait, why wouldn't every household in America want this, just so we can get rid of this problem that we all have?
Well, I mean, that's the goal.
Erin, come on now. We can do this. You can do this now. This is amazing.
Like I said, I've been running after it ever since I launched it, going, wait for me, oh my God. It's been quite an adventure since then. Now, the one thing to point out is keep in mind, I can't guarantee that you're never going to get bitten by a bug ever again. Nobody can do that.
Right.
But what I did that was really important to me is I made sure that if you do, I turned it into a formula. And so I made sure that if you do happen to get a bite, it won't be as severe, it won't be as itchy, and it'll heal in about half the time.
Wow. So wait a second. How often do, so many of our listeners suffer from bites of all types that you said, and we're not going to go back through the list again, but this is a great thing for our pets, for ourselves, for our children, for our loved ones, our friends. How often do you have to take then a dose of your, Mozi-Q?
So you take it one tablet every 2 to 3 hours, depending on exposure. Like if you're in a swamp, you might have to take it more often. And one of the things talking about being green is we have a bunch of tree planters in northern Canada, and they love this stuff because they're out in the middle of the woods making sure that we have more trees, but they're getting eaten alive. And so we've been setting it up with them since the get-go.
This is amazing. And for our listeners out there that have to travel or want to travel to areas where dengue fever and other things are very serious in terms of illnesses that can be contracted from mosquito bites, I assume the Mozi-Q would work very well for people who have to travel to more dangerous areas of the world where dengue fever and other type of airborne illnesses through mosquitoes can be even more dangerous to us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also important to note that Mozi-Q can be used in conjunction with anything else because you do have to be safe in those areas. But I can tell you, we had one woman, she took it, she went on a mission in Kenya to build houses, and she took enough, she didn't know if anybody else would be interested in it. So she took enough just for her to be able to use for the entire time. Well, everybody else was getting eaten alive. She wasn't getting eaten alive. And next thing you know, she didn't have enough Mozi-Q because everybody was using it.
This is great. This is really, really, really great. So in terms of environment and other things, where do you manufacture it? Are you a green manufacturer as well? Are you manufacturing it are you just in Canada, or are you contract manufacturing in other parts of the world?
So we are a Canadian-based manufacturing company, and we do practice green manufacturing, as well as I'm actually a certified B Corporation. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the B Corporation movement, but that is a way for me to be audited, not only on my manufacturing practices, but also on my environmental initiatives, on community initiatives, and what I do for the stakeholders in my company.
Wow. That's awesome. And will you be able to manufacture enough for other parts of the world right out of Canada, or will you open up other facilities? Is that what's your vision there?
Well, my vision is to keep it in Canada. One of the things I'm a stickler about is making sure that I have a close watch over the process, and I don't feel like I could do that halfway across the world.
Right.
Unless I wanted to go on a trip.
Right. And do you manufacture your other homeopathic medicines there too, as well, besides the Mozi-Q, or do you purchase those and just sell them as a wholesaler?
I purchase those and sell them through the store, but I am actually launching a children's line here in Canada, and that's going to be available just in Canada very shortly.
For our listeners out there who just joined us, we've got Erin Bosch. She's the president and CEO of a very important breakthrough homeopathic medicine called Mozi-Q. It's www.mozi-q.com. I want to, we have about 4 minutes left, Erin. I want you to share with our listeners your experience with the Green Festival and what you're doing with them and how you're continuing to get the word out. Besides being on television and having a beautiful website and all the other great things you're doing, how is the Green Festival helping you get this very important new homeopathic medicine, Mozi-Q, out to the world?
Well, we introduced the product to the U.S. at the Green Festival in New York. And you know what? I was so welcomed and I was so lovingly received. I just felt like I was amongst the right people, the people who really do believe in change and want to change the world. It was a great experience, everything from the different products that were there to the people who are coming going, oh my God, this is an awesome product. We want to get more. That to me was really nice to see. Not to mention they had, some great speakers there. It felt like the right community to be able to talk about something like this.
And what's your vision in the United States, Erin? You're very, very, you're going to make this huge. I know it. What's the vision of how many stores do you want to get into? When is Whole Foods and other great retailers going to start carrying this? This is really important stuff. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, we just launched. We're on Madison Avenue in Clyde's, and that just blows my mind that my product is in Madison Avenue. The idea of the U.S. is kind of like, keep in mind, I'm a Canadian. We don't have. Our population is the equivalent of one of your states. So even the idea almost blows my mind at the moment. But Whole Foods has seen the product, and we've got a lot of buzz going on, and we're getting it out to stores, and just really having that communication. Because the one thing that's really nice about this product is, when you use it and it works, your mind is blown and you tell 10 other people, right? And so I really think that it's going to end up being more than even I can conceive.
and what's your vision after the United States? Is this a product that you're then going to take around the world, Erin?
Well, the whole goal originally is to have, the golfers who don't want to get bit, fund the idea that we could take this around the world. Like, malaria is the number one killer of children in the world. And I want to see this product go to places that really need it, that really need that leg up. And so kind of it's, one step at a time as I go. I'm still just an entrepreneur. And I don't know. My shiny, happy future is kind of out there, because once again, going back, I really thought this would be a hobby, and now I'm working 12-hour days trying to keep up with it. So
when people from the Gates Foundation are listening to this show, we're going to put them in contact with you so you could help them vanquish malaria around the world. Doesn't that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome.
Hey, Erin, we're down to the last minute or so. What's next for you? What's your goals in the immediate near future and long term? You're real young. You have a big future. You're probably going to be a billionaire on the cover of Forbes in the years to come. What's on your mind today, and where are you going with all this?
Well, it might seem kind of small, but I'll tell you, yesterday was one of my staff members' birthdays. And so we stopped halfway through the day and we got some pizza and we sat in the boardroom and we just chatted. And I was talking about the fact that, I was really happy to be able to create an environment where people loved going to work, and I loved going to work. And just because, we spend so much time at work, and why should it be terrible? And so my goal is kind of to create the environment that I'd like to be in. I want to have great retail partners. I want to have great customers. I want to make sure that everybody knows that, we're doing this not just for, a huge gain. We're doing it to try to change the world and have a great team moving forward.
Well, Erin, we want you to come back and help continue to change the world. For our listeners out there, please go and check out Erin's great product, www.mozi-q.com, mozi-q.com. Buy it, use it, help make the world a better place. Thank you, Erin, for being a visionary entrepreneur and making the world a better place for everyone. All of our listeners out there, you are truly living proof that green is good.